Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over Spawn. And so, with that being said, we're going to pick up with Spawn issues number 105 and 106. Now, this is a two-part storyline where we're seeing some old characters come back into the picture again for Spawn, because with the idea of Spawn now killing off a Hell Lord, it's like, you know what? We just pulled off 100 issues for Spawn. What can we do now with this character? What can Spawn do without the idea of worrying for the moment about heaven or hell? And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and bring back some old characters, like, for example, the idea of Overtkill. Now, before we kind of get into the idea of the return of Overkill, as we dive into the opening pages for Spawn issue number 105, we're really picking up with, well, this plane crash that takes place right in the middle of the city. Now, it's massive, it's huge. You have all of these different people freaking out. You have folks standing there. You have folks wondering how can they help out? But you have Spawn go in there and help out. Here's the thing, because for Spawn, as you have Spawn being able to go in there, grab people and bring them out, you have folks realize that all these different people who were part of that plane crash has somehow just appeared outside the plane. They're kind of wondering who in the world was able to pull them out so fast and quickly. Now, there's this one guy. This one guy does have a camera, and he was recording everything. Now, at first, it was just him trying to get footage of the plane crash, but he caught something on the camera. And we kind of get the idea of the possibility that he was able to get Spawn on the camera. And so now we switch over to two random thugs. Now, these two random thugs, they work for somebody else. And we're not really told who this mysterious person is, but he's not there with them. He's right now watching them through a camera from a different location. But he tells them, like, be careful with my package. Now, once they do open up the package, we're going to find out that they were opening a package that was holding Overkill. Now, for Overkill, he's a character that we have talked a lot about when it comes to our coverage over Spawn. Almost said X-Men there. But for Spawn, he had constantly killed Overkill many times throughout his own comics, because Overkill, being a cyborg, he is constantly rebuilt over and over again and used by other people to go after other people. Like, for example, you have the mob using him to go after targets they want dead and gone. And so for Overkill, this mysterious guy brought him back to life again and said, here is your assignment. I need you right now to go after somebody, and I want you to bring his head back over to me. Now, we kind of get the idea that they are talking about Spawn here. This is only a two-part storyline, but for our mysterious character, he's also being told that there's something else going on, and he tells his assistant, handle it right now before I get angry. But now we switch over to that random guy who had supposedly recorded Spawn on his camera. And so he calls over to a random tabloid to hopefully sell the video off to them to make some quick cash. Like, for example, $2,000. Now, the lady he does call or answer his call, she does agree to meet up with him and pay that $2,000 if he does have a video that she wants to see. The idea that there's some mysterious person that has saved those people on that plane crash. But as we do switch back over to Spawn, you have Spawn right now finding a bunch of dead bodies just laying out everywhere. And for Spawn, he wants to know, like, who in the world is responsible for all these different people being dead? Now, for Spawn, it does not take him that long on the source of all the dead bodies. Of course, it would be Overtkill. And so we do see another battle between these two characters. Now, here's the thing, because of Overkill, he was kind of a cool character in the early days of Spawn, because Spawn, it was him still trying to figure out how his powers truly worked. By this point, Spawn knows how his powers worked. So for Overkill, this right here is not really a challenge for Spawn at all. And so you have Spawn beat down on Overkill, but wants to know, like, one, who brought him back to life, and two, where can he find that person to go ahead and take care of that person as well. But as their battle continues on, you do have some people kind of seeing like things are popping off between their battle. Now, for our mysterious character who did gone out of their way to help rebuild Overkill, well, he has sent his assistant to go take care of a problem. That problem was the guy who had supposedly recorded Spawn and shot that guy right in the head. So that guy right there, he ain't gonna get his $2,000 at all because homeboy took one in the head and now you know he's dead. But once we do get back over to Spawn, all we're seeing at the moment is Spawn being able to just destroy Overkill once again. And I think this was his last time he ever appeared in Spawn comics. But once you do have Spawn being able to break down Overkill once again, he demands answers. He's all like, who in the world brought you back to life? Like, where can I find this person? Now, for Overkill, it does seem like at first he's not going to share that info over to Spawn. But by the last page of the first chapter of this storyline, all we see is Spawn throwing the head of Overkill away, leaving us wondering, did Overkill tell Spawn where to find the guy who helped rebuild him again? So as we get into the second half of the storyline, what we're seeing right now is just Spawn going after different people, hoping to get information on who was the person who was responsible for bringing Overkill back to life and sending him after Spawn. And so we do see Spawn head over to the office of a character known as Franklin Martyr. Now, Franklin's more of a general, and so for Spawn, he knows who is behind the actual attack, like who sent Overkill. And so he asks Franklin, like, hey, I need you to tell me right now where I can find him. We're not told just yet, but we get the idea that it's somebody Spawn knows very well. But when we do switch over to our mysterious character, we see him meeting up with his assistant, the one he used earlier to kill off the guy who had recorded Spawn on that tape. And so for our assistant here, he's now being told his job is done. He can go ahead and leave. Now, we're also kind of get the idea that he wanted the tape the other guy got earlier to kind of make Spawn go public, to let the world know who he is, so that he will always be hunted by different organizations in the real world. Now, getting back over to the guy who got killed for recording Spawn, you have Spawn and also the lady who works at the tabloid arrive at the same time, finding his dead body in his apartment. Now, for Spawn, he wants to know what was going on here. And she says, like, that guy had a tape of you, I'm guessing. He says some big guy in a red cape, and right now, it looks like it's you, but he had a tape, but no one else knew about the deal. That was she thought. But for Spawn, he was able to figure out, like, what about your partner who's currently waiting outside at the moment? And so you have Spawn go outside and begin to confront her partner to figure out who he told. And so, of course, it leads Spawn right over to our mysterious character assistant. Now, for Spawn, he gets the info out of that guy, but you also have Spawn kill the guy off for killing the other guy who had recorded Spawn. And so once you have Spawn being able to get that information out of that guy, it's now time for Spawn to confront the one person who's behind all of this. And Spawn knows who it is. Oh, Spawn knows. And it's Jason Wynn. Now, for Jason Wynn, for Jason Wynn, he was the guy who was responsible for Al Simmons turning into Spawn because he was Al's boss. Matter of fact, he got Al killed that turned Al into Spawn, basically. Well, of course, you had Al make a deal with Malbolgia. But anyways, for Jason Wynn, he's like this powerful guy he was at the very beginning of Spawn comics because he had so much power with the security side in the government. But over time in Spawn comics, he has slowly lost that power thanks to Spawn. All those different resources have been taken away from him. Now for Spawn, he can't kill Jason because if he does, that means there's a kill order out there to go after Terry, to go after Wanda. And so for Spawn, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? I can't kill you, but I can make sure you go literally insane. And so you have Spawn just take the skin off of Jason and then put the skin back on to Jason. It is so gross and nasty, y'all, but it's the way to mess with Jason's mind. He goes literally insane. But hear me out, y'all. You have Jason bring up the fact that for Spawn, he's afraid to go public, meaning the world knowing about him. And technically that is true because for Spawn, Wanda has no idea about him. Now Terry does, but like that's Terry, right? But Wanda doesn't. And a few other people don't know that Spawn is Al Simmons, who's not alive again, but like being able to walk around in the real world. And so for Jason's all like, dude, you know, if I tell the world, you will always be hunted by different organizations. And that is actually true, what Jason is saying. But anyways, once you have Spawn being able to deal with Jason, you then have Spawn head back over to the lady who worked at a tabloid company. And we see Spawn leave behind the tape. Now, of course, that tape right there that he left behind is the proof of him existing in this world, which means he's no longer afraid of the world finding out about him. He's not afraid of the idea of different organizations, heaven or hell, coming after him. It's Spawn saying, bring it on. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.